Hello, and welcome to another episode of Adamo Baseball, where I'm your host, Adamo. And in this episode, I'm going to be breaking down the Miami Marlins. So last year, I actually remember doing this. I picked them to finish last because I knew nothing about the team, about the vast majority of the players, anything. I'm a little more familiar with them this year, though I'll admit there's still a lot of holes because they're just not very talked about because they were so bad for so long. And since they let most of their talent walk, Marcell Ozuna, Christian Yelich, JT Realmuto, it's one other big one, Giancarlo Stanton, they let all those guys walk, and since then, no one's really talked about them. Well, they're building a team. You look at their team, I think Derek Jeter knows what he's doing. I think he owns the team now. Either he owns the team or he's the GM. I think he owns the team. And he's actually building a winner there. So don't be surprised if 3 or 4 years from now we're talking about the Marlins and some of these guys they've got on this team. Because they got a lot of young guys with a lot of upside. Granted, some of them got a lot of low side as well, but there's a team there being built, and there's a lot of possibility here. We could be looking at a team that maybe, they made the playoffs in 2020, yes. That was, however, because of the expanded field. For them, it was because of that. However, they did not have a losing record, which I was very pleasantly surprised that they did not have a losing record and that they did just go to the playoffs. If I'm not mistaken, I think they did win a series. Yeah, they did. Who did they play? The Braves beat the Reds. The Dodgers beat the Brewers. Who did the Padres beat? I think, the Padres beat St. Louis. So I think the Marlins beat the Cubs. Yeah, the Marlins beat the Cubs in the postseason last year. So they did get a postseason series win. And it was the first time they made the postseason since 2003. Up until last season, they had never lost a postseason series. Ever. And as far as I'm aware, up to that point, they were the only team in Major League Baseball who could make that claim. Do I think they'll make the postseason again this year? No. Do I think that they'll finish last in the NL East again? Yes. Though, not because they're as bad as they have been in years past, but because there's still some growing to do. They're going to be taking some hits. If I'm not mistaken, I think Don Mattingly is still there, and he was hired by the former ownership. So if he's still there, then they're going to have a managerial transition. I'm not saying anything wrong against Don Mattingly. He was the one who built the Dodgers up to be the successful team that they are today. He was Dave Roberts' predecessor in that regard. But I think that there's still some transition to go through with the Marlins. I think they'll make some noise, but I still think they'll finish on the bottom of the division because the NL East is a pretty top-heavy division. You can't sleep on any one of those four teams. The four other teams, like I said, the Nats have got World Series potential. The Braves, even though I'm not picking them to go that far, honestly, they could. They just have to get more consistency in their rotation. The Mets just need to be able to string it all together. And the Phillies, they've certainly got the talent all the way across the board. They just naturally have problems in Philly. And the Marlins are kind of on the bottom looking up. So not this year, not next year, but 23, 24, somewhere in that time frame, we're going to be talking about the Marlins. And so let me start, as I always do, with the lineup. Leading off, Corey Dickerson, left field. I think this is one of the guys last year that I knew nothing about. Well, he actually is a pretty good leadoff guy. You'd like him to draw some more walks, but he doesn't strike out a lot. Not necessarily as few strikeouts as you would necessarily want, but you'd like him to walk a bit more, maybe take that ball four on a full count a bit more. Just try and draw out the pitcher a bit more. If he can get his walk total up, you got a solid leadoff guy. Batting second, Starling Marte. I think it's just Starling Marte. Center field, made a name for himself in Arizona. Certainly an all-star, and certainly could be this year as well. Batting third, Jesus Aguilar, third base. So I knew he was on that NLCS team with the Brewers. He was certainly one of the guys that got him there. Strikes out a bit more than you would like, but certainly a home run hitter. Belongs in the 3 spot in the lineup. What I didn't know is that he was on that 2016 Indians team. Granted, he only played like 9 games, or maybe 6. I think it was 6 games with 9 at-bats total. So he really didn't get a chance to prove himself. In 3 years in Cleveland, he never played more than 10 games. When he got to Milwaukee, he got to prove himself, and he's still relatively young, so he's got his chance in Miami. This could be his real shot at being able to rise above, if you will. Batting cleanup, third baseman Brian Anderson. The cleanup potential is there. He's not necessarily your best cleanup guy in the world, but he does have the potential to be able to become that home run hitter that you want. So look out for that guy. He's one of those younger guys that's going to make the Marlins a contender in future seasons. Like I said, not this year, but in the future. Batting fifth, Adam Duvall, right field. He was one of the guys that led Atlanta to at least 1, if not 2, or even 3 of those division titles. He wasn't the guy, but he was one of the guys. I think he was playing right field at the time because Nick Markakis was out in right field for them. Adam Duvall, he's a home run hitter, so look out for him to have a pretty home run heavy season this year. Batting sixth, Jazz Chisholm. So he hasn't played a lot per se, but when he has played, he has been pretty good. And I will always root for a guy whose first name is Jazz. Okay, that's just awesome. I can't not root for a guy whose first name is Jazz. Need I say more? Batting seventh, Jorge Alfaro. He was the catcher in Philly before Real Muto got there. So he's got plenty of experience catching. JT Real Muto is, you can't not have Real Muto. If you get a chance to sign him, you sign him. Unless if you've got your own all-star / superstar catcher, you're willing to part ways with the old guy. Alfaro was the old guy. You look at his hitting, as far as catchers are concerned, he actually hits really well. Like, you're looking in the 250 range for a catcher, which is very rare today. I mean, roll the clock back 50 years and different story, but not today. And when you got a guy batting in the 7-hole who you're looking at may bat 250 this season, you're looking at a pretty strong lineup. And then batting 8th, Miguel Rojas, shortstop. He's another one of those young guys that, again, not this year or next year, but he could be one of those guys that leads Miami to being a better team in the future. Specifically as a fielder, I don't necessarily know how well he's going to be able to hit. So there's that aspect of it, but I think he's going to be one of those young guys that we're going to be looking at, and that's at the bottom of the lineup. Overall, it's a young, mostly young, raw lineup with plenty of opportunity to grow with a very high ceiling. So I keep emphasizing this point. It's not this year. This is not going to be the year that they just blow the doors off everybody. But this is going to be the core that's going to be making some noise in the future. 3 or 4 years from now, we're going to be talking about them like we're talking about San Diego now. As I always caveat, or as a caveat, I always have to say this. If I'm wrong, I'm man enough to admit it. But I don't think I'm wrong about this. And I think that lineup is going to be getting a lot of praise in the future. As far as the rotation is concerned, again, it's very young. So this is one of those high ceiling, low floor type scenarios. I really can't exemplify with my hands just how vast the difference is here. And I think that this rotation, this could be interesting. Sandy Alcantara, I think this is his shot to prove that he can be an ace. So he's only had like one bad year. He's one of those names that we don't know now, but in the future we will know. Look out for that guy. Pitching second, Pablo Lopez. I don't remember what I saw about him, but this is another one of those guys that we're going to be talking about in the future. Elisir Hernandez. He's one of the guys that got the Marlins to the playoffs. So they had 2 guys last season that really did move them forward and actually got them to that 500 record. He's one of those guys. He was one of the 2 main pitchers that helped to elevate them to a 500 record and get them that 6th seed. The other one, 4th in the rotation, Sixto Sanchez. So he's one of those guys that apparently he's got a few kinks he's got to work out, but of what I saw last year, he's pretty good. He's one of the reasons they beat the Cubs in the wild card round, and he's a name we're going to be saying a lot going forward. So I'm actually very excited about those 4 guys. 5th in the rotation. I got a feeling that they're going to be using him more as an opener or as a long reliever than they are as a starter. Nick Neidert. I'm sorry for butchering that name. And if you happen to be watching me, I apologize to you personally. He's pitched mostly out of the bullpen throughout his career, so I think that he's probably there for the purpose of just having a 5th guy officially listed. I think they're probably going to use him more like the Nats used Joe Ross. And I've gone in depth as to how Joe Ross is used in the past. So maybe, maybe not. Their closer is Yimi Garcia. So usually with really good closers, you know their name. You don't know his name, but I think the potential is there. He's probably not going to get 35 saves this season. Honestly, he's probably going to get closer to 20. But if he can get around 20 this season, then it's a successful season. And of what I was researching, the Marlins actually have been trying to beef up their bullpen. And of what I saw, the Marlins may actually have the best bullpen in the NL East. Anthony Bass, Dylan Floro, and Richard Bleer. Those three guys, they're actually pretty good relievers. And most of the time, you're not going to know. You may know Anthony Bass's name because he's been a closer, and he may actually end up taking the closer spot from Yimi Garcia if that doesn't work out. Look out for this rotation, or this bullpen, because this is a very strong bullpen. These, at least 3, if not 4 of these guys, they can hold up the back end. So if their rotation turns out to be able to pay off, we may be looking at our surprise team for this season because no one sees them repeating what they did last year. And they're one of the teams that we probably see as a consequence of 2020 really bringing the best teams down, the Nationals being an example. Well, Miami being one of those teams that were brought up by it. Don't sleep on the Marlins. While, yes, I do have them picked to finish last because I think that they're a couple of years away, they could be a surprise team this year. So don't be surprised if they make some noise around July timeframe. And we may be asking questions like, are they going to be trading for people rather than trading away people? And they are building. They are building for the future. Don't be surprised if Miami makes a run in a couple of years and makes us question. Because like 2014, we thought the same thing about Houston. Like, where did this team come from? Well, the Marlins, not this year, but next couple of years, this could be that team. And those are my thoughts on the Miami Marlins. If you'd like to let me know your thoughts, if you're observing this, you can let me know in the comments below. Or if you're listening to it on my podcast, you can let me know on Instagram, since I got that working. With that being said, thank you for listening. Cheers until next time.